And luckily, we played that show with a guitar that wasn't broke 3 songs in.
That's beautiful. Was he just like so into it that he just decided to smash his guitar and walk off the stage?
Kind of. It started off, honestly, the sound guy was kind of being a dick to all the other bands. And I didn't get like that feeling from him or that vibe from him. But
that sounds about
it
right.
rubbed Corey the wrong way from the beginning. And then at the, like during the songs, they keep turning his guitar down and he keep telling him to turn it up. So Corey like just went over and cranked his amp up so damn high, and that pisses the sound guys off when you crank your amp during the set, especially when it's all mic'd up.
For sure.
So they just had this give and take the whole time, and then he started having tech issues. I guess one of the cables was going bad. So out of nowhere, I look over and I just see him smashing the guitar against a PA, smashing it against a stage. Security runs up, pulls him off stage. Kicks him out by the time. And so at this point, you've got to keep playing. Like the rule of being in a band is you can't stop. So we just keep playing. So it's just bass guitar, drums, and me screaming over bass guitar. And
nice.
We finish up the song. By the time we get off stage, Corey's already gone, and we didn't hear from him until the very next show.
Wow. That's awesome. I was like really worried about it too. I asked you questions about it for like a week.
Yeah, I honestly didn't know what was going to happen from there.
Nice.
And if you pissed off the sound guy and didn't know what was going to happen from there, then you are ready for this episode of Discography Discussion. I am Joe. That is Dan. That is Geoff. This is Brandon Kellum of American Standards.
Hey, hey.
And these are all the people in the room who are going to clap really loudly.
Oh, yeah.
Woo!
Oh, yeah.
All the hype that money can buy, and we're talking about Underoath tonight.
Yes, we are.
No, I thought the hype was for Brandon, but hey.
Hey, Brandon is the hype.
No, this is a Daniel Terry extravaganza, the birthday extravaganza show right here.
That it
Oh,
is.
you had to bring it up, didn't you?
I am 4 beers in.
Yeah, and they're all Benelisians, so.
Yeah, 8%. So, here we are.
That's like 2% to
slurring
Dan.
my words yet. But
So if this is a 2 or 3 hour episode, then we'll be about double that in, right?
we're going to piss off everybody that's at this party if it's a 3-hour episode. We'll try
All
our
right.
best. I know you got to drive ahead of you, so drink lots of coffee.
Yeah, there you go.
You got a Keurig, right?
We do have a Keurig.
All right, so you're good. Get that dark magic Keurig going. Like, that's my favorite. Is the dark magic. It gets me up for work in the morning.
I'm still a stupid guy that though I go out and buy coffee from places, even though I can just get it from the house. It really disappoints myself.
Yeah, well, that's all right.
Yeah, I'm a cheap bastard. I make it at home, and I buy my coffee pods from Costco. The Kirkland breakfast blend. It's actually pretty damn tasty.
There you go.
I'm sorry, very, very sorry that I missed the American Standards episode. I feel like a schmuck.
I think his exact words were like, "Fuck that band. I'm not into that."
Yeah, that lead singer, man, he sucks.
Hey, type your password in, you fuck. I got to
It's
pull up
cool.
some Underoath
I would've
lyrics
missed
for
it
this.
too. If you guys ask me to call in, I'm like, I don't want to, and I don't know.
It's all good. Me and Joe are the beginning and the end.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
I'm
The
just
alpha, the omega.
I'm the cream filling.
So you're saying it's dangerous business walking out your front door?
Well, I think Bilbo Baggins said that back in 19-something,
40-something.
early 19-something.
Awkward silence time. While we wait for Dan to pull up some lyrics.
I'm looking for Underoath lyrics.
He's clearly not prepared to have this live show happen.
Yeah,
I
because
am.
he's having to use my extra phone.
So I will say I had no idea that some of these old Underoath lyrics that Dan has been sending me over the last couple of days were just like when we talked about Pantera, and like I felt oblivious to a lot of the lyrics that Dan was quoting. I was equally as oblivious to a lot of these Underoath lyrics.
Phil Anselmo was a goddamn genius in comparison. I mean, that licked my sack line. I mean,
don't you feel
poetry.
like you were the opposite of enlightened after he told you the lyrics?
Okay, so
Because that's how I felt. I was like, because I think it's already really well established. I really could give two shit about the lyrics. And then he starts telling me some of them. I'm like, God, that's horrible.
all right, so we got that out of the way. So tonight we're talking about Underoath,
Yeah.
the band that started
Woo.
off as a run-of-the-mill Christian metalcore band and really became one of the biggest bands on the planet.
In my opinion, the pinnacle for like the scene bands, like basically the band where I felt like if you were considered a MySpace kid or a scene kid, you were into Underoath.
For sure.
They were the band that got you into it.
I remember all those T-shirts of like medical beakers that were empty and like little bombs and stuff on the shirts and little crosses and stuff. Like they were like the darling child of the scene. Yeah,
they were the poster boys for like the lyric "My Heart Bleeds." I don't know if they said that lyric, but it's definitely something that was a quote on everybody's MySpace page.
Oh, for sure.
And for some people, it was their email address.
Oh my God. Dan.
So that happened.
Before we get that far into Underoath, I'm going to take this time to say thank you to everyone who is listening to this podcast. Thank you for listening and for subscribing. If you are not a subscriber, you can find everything Discography Discussion at discussmetal.com. We are on Google Play, iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio. If you have an Amazon Echo or a Google Home, you have no excuse. Ask that thing to play the latest episode of Discography Discussion podcast, and it will. We're also on Facebook and on Twitter at Discuss Metal. Be sure to like, favorite, and subscribe. It really helps us out. It lets us know you're listening. And now Dan is going to tell us all about 5-star reviews.
We love 5-star reviews here on Discography Discussion. On iTunes, you have the ability to give us a 5-star review if you like our podcast. I mean, definitely give us whatever kind of review you think we deserve. If you think we suck on something, I mean, clearly send us an email first and tell us what we suck on, and then leave us a 5-star review.
Damn.
But, if you don't want to, that's fine. But
And that can of worms is officially open.
I have also added functionality recently to our Facebook page. If you go to facebook.com/discography discussion, you can like our page and follow us. And one of the cool things you can do is you can leave us a review on Facebook as well, which is something that we're trying out, and hopefully you guys are more apt to that, because I have noticed that leaving reviews on iTunes has become more complicated as of late, so you can leave us a review right on Facebook. And if you do, maybe we'll read it.
And now Geoff is going to tell everyone about 19.2 audio.
Not this time.
16 hours later.
No, actually, I just bought a brand new Paradigm surround sound system. So how about that with my mini monitors? If there's a bunch of nerds out there, they'll know what the hell I'm talking about.
Douche.
Fancy.
Gotta love it. I think Geoff needs to do a side podcast that we distribute on the website about all those audio things.
Fuck yeah.
That's for the Patreon subscribers, right? That's the bonus content.
All right, so Dave is
how
going to get
some
it.
people got obsessed with cars? I'm the same way with speakers. I can't help myself.
And now Brandon is going to tell us all about American Standards for those that do not know.
American Standards makes a lot of noise a lot of the time. Sometimes it's with guitars and other times it's not.
I thought you were talking about my toilet when I sit on it.
I swear to God, every day I wake up to a couple people tagging us on a toilet, and it's always this aha moment. It's fantastic. I love it.
It's a brilliant marketing scheme.
Just add the S. That's what gets the trademark around.
Gotta love it.
Nice.
I think about it every time I'm taking a piss.
People shit on us often.
Piss and vinegar, right?
That's awesome.
So Dan, tell us all about Underoath.
Underoath is a Christian metalcore band, even though they would be really upset that I described them as such now.
Yeah, they'd
But
want you
back
to
in-
drop the Christian part
Back
now.
in 1998, 1999, that's what they were. They were a Christian metalcore band that started in Florida. I don't remember exactly where in Florida it was because, well, as I
Tampa.
said, I'm 5 beers into this
Tampa.
point. Tampa?
Tampa.
Was it Tampa?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Well, let's go with that. So, Underoath played a style of metalcore that was had a lot of influences of death metal in it, hardcore, just the kind of stuff that was kind of starting to emerge from the Christian hardcore scene at that time. I mean, before that, you had bands like Focus and Strong Arm and Unashamed and Zao and stuff that were, before Zao went like the more metal route. You had bands that, were eating crunches and, being really heavy and in your face and extreme. But Underoath was more of a like death metal influenced band at that time. And they put out a couple of, a lot of people say they're EPs, but I consider them to be full-length albums because they're so long.
I know, we're talking like 9-minute, 10-minute sonute
Yes, sir.
That's an entire American Standards album.
Yeah, absolutely. One Underoath song, one American Standards album. You do the math.
But it's such a great album. By the way, where's my 7-inch?
Oh, I will send one right away, man.
You just
I'll
ordered
send
it.
you one with these fancy new pins that we just made.
Ooh.
I've got to get you guys out some of these metal pins.
I
Man. They're
need
nice.
an American Standards metal pin.
I did
for
just
sure.
place an order recently.
There you go. It's coming out.
Give me them pins.
So we had a very different band in the early days from the later days. The radio single has not yet happened. 1999,
Not even close.
Active
No.
Depression. Brandon, tell me about this album.
So I made my way backwards. I came into Underoath around Changing of Times and then worked my way back. When I first listened to Act of Depression, it was so spastic compared to where they went into with Changing of Times and, you know, They're Only Chasing Safety. Like Dan said, there was all this tremolo picking. There's a lot of death metal vocals, almost at times black metal influence. And the whole Christianity thing about it, it passed me entirely. I knew they were a solid state band, and I knew that I love solid state bands, but listening to it without reading the lyrics, I would have been oblivious to the fact. So I almost wonder with you guys, and especially Dan, obviously being a big on lyrics, did you come into it knowing it was a Christian band right away, or was it something that you kind of dug into it more and found out about?
Well, I mean, I definitely knew that was my bag back then. You know, like back in the youth group days of, you know, you listen to Christian bands, and I listened to, you know, stuff that was significantly heavier than like what most of the Christian kids were listening to. And so I knew it was a Christian band pretty much from the start. And I have to correct you a little bit on that, Brandon. They were actually signed to a label called Take Hold Records.
Okay.
Whenever they released the first two albums. So Act of Depression was a Take Hold Records release, who was later bought out by Solid State. So
Was it a Christian label as well, or?
yes, so you're not totally wrong on that, but they were bought out later. So
I'll
you know,
take it.
back when these records came out, they were Take Hold only, and yeah, I mean, this record was kind of a youth group kid's wet dream. Like if you wanted to drive a friend over to a youth event or something, you know, and you were just so like obsessed with yourself that you just wanted them to know that, like, yeah, dude, this is the kind of stuff I'm into. You would play something like Act of Depression, and it has a lot of tremolo picking. It has a lot of really harsh screams, some death metal vocals in there.
Really raw vocals too, like they're
Super raw.
They're not polished at all. It just sounds like he's like shredding his voice the entire time.
No, and one of the first things Joe said, Joe and I used to be in a band called Jelly Donut that was like a Christian like rock metal type of band, and
I'm considering the censor button right now.
I remember we were. So there was a time at Jelly Donut where we sounded like kind of like a Linkin Park or like Non-Point, like a smooth like rock metal hybrid, like new metal basically. And
Like a hybrid theory.
yeah, something like that. Yeah, like a hybrid.
I'll have to look
It was
up
like
the
this
volume.
this theory of hybrid, you know. And but sometime during that era, I discovered bands like Zao and Norma Jean and like stuff that was just a little bit more like a lot heavier and obviously
you discovered good bands.
yeah, like bands like Underoath and you know, I was really into it at that time, and so I subjected these poor band members to listening to like stuff like Act of Depression and Cries of the Past, and I was like, this is the good stuff. The shit we're playing isn't good.
You were
need
the
to-
hipster of Christian metal.
Absolutely.
That's your new trademark there, Dan.
Hashtag hipster of Christian metal, yeah. So, you know, that happened, and like I remember like just really subjecting these guys to this stuff, and I remember one of the first things Joe said when he heard some of the songs off of Act of Depression, he said, this sounds like the band is recording in one room and the singer is just screaming random shit in the other room. And he's not totally off the mark on that. Like, this record, Dallas was not the vocalist that he became. There's a lot of really weird, like, talking parts, like, thrown in there, and, like, really raw screams. And, like, they sound cool, but, like, on Active Depression, whatever reason, I kind of get bored, like, 7 or 8 minutes into each song.
Yeah, I was going to ask you if it holds up for you, because today I went back and listened to Active Depression, which at the time when I first discovered it, I remember really liking it. But I think I really liked it because I felt like cool and underground for liking it,
Yeah.
Whereas when I go back and listen to it now, I'm like, these songs, like you said, are so long. They're all over the place. There's not a whole hell of a lot of structure. And it just didn't hold water like it did back when I first heard it.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much, like, chugga riff going on. And it doesn't go anywhere. The songs are kind of, for the most part, they're actually kind of slow paced, and it's almost like they're just like super impressed with their guitar tone or like how heavy they were able to become.
It sounds like a 16-year-old kid at a Guitar Center that's just like trying to like, tremolo pick his way through from riff to riff just to see if anyone's paying attention.
Well, yeah,
to him.
and that's exactly what it is. I mean, I think the average age of the band members, I think Aaron Gillespie was like, 15 when they did this? So, like, it was it was just different, and his drumming wasn't amazing here, but, like...
He was a far cut above what he would do later, and what I mean by that is he's a very solid drummer. He's playing with the song, and later on, he would turn into this much more talented version of Lars Ulrich, where it was, I'm going to play wrong on purpose, but it's going to be really solid and in time with the music because I want to be different.
Wow, shots fired.
I said it, and I ain't afraid of it.
I was going to say...
Hope you're not listening.
Yeah. Aaron's not my issue on this album. I think Dallas is kind of distracting with his vocals.
God, shots fired again.
Yeah, I'm not a Dallas guy.
Where the hell did I find these guys?
I don't know, man. But you screwed up. You should have just like stuck with Brandon the whole time.
Well, the thing about this record compared to every other Underoath release is, to me, it's measured by all the music that would later be popular. Between this and Cries of the Past,
which is excellent.
For me, Cries of the Past is a far superior release.
Absolutely.
And I would be curious to know what the writing time frame was between the two albums.
I think everybody would say that Cries is far superior to this.
So I think Active Depression is all right for the most part. It's not great, but it's all right. But guys, can I take a section of this podcast out to talk about some lyrics that were on Active Depression?
Please do.
You are now entering Dan's Lyric Fest.
I think it's time for a beer.
Okay, so there's a song called Burden in Your Hand. And you may not know what you're getting into. Are you ready for this?
It's your birthday. Go for it.
Oh my God.
Do what you want, birthday boy.
Okay, well, this is a song about abortion. Whoo, boy. Okay, so... Here's a snippet from A Burden in Your Hands. When you kill, you destroy that child's dreams and hopes. How innocent a baby is. How can you put it to death? What if you were aborted? You could have never had life. And now, you made a choice to take this child's life because it's a burden in your hands. And I'm going to skip up a little bit here, where he says, you kill, you destroyed. Never will this baby be able to grow up or show its love. You'll never be able to hear it say, I love you. I love you. God does not give you the privilege to carry a child for nothing.
I don't hear the clapping from the audience back there.
Oh, man.
That was intense.
That's rough, man. Like,
the thing about that is I don't even feel like that reads like lyrics. Like there's no metaphor in there. There's no, like, it doesn't sound poetic, or it just sounds like they wrote a paragraph.
It sounds preachy.
It sounds like they read it off of a fucking Jack Chick tract. Like, it just doesn't... Wow. Like, at one point he even says, you should have thought about the baby before you had sex. Well, damn. That'll get you every time, right? I mean, it's weird to hear 15, 16-year-old youth group kids have such a strong opinion about something that they've never experienced personally.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you're pregnant.
Like,
let's fuck like crazy now.
Right?
Can't get you pregnant anymore.
It's one of the Jeff. It's one of those like,
Hot
not
take.
really like talking about having sex and having an intimate relationship with a woman from guys that probably haven't. This is clearly something that like was pushed down to them. Like they heard this from a pastor, or they heard this from somebody that they felt
maybe the
like
pastor
had
just wrote it and they screamed it.
Possible, totally possible.
But maybe the fact that the way it's written like this, kind of going back to the fact that like the vocals get boring after a while, since there wasn't a lot of like it doesn't feel like they spent time on the melody. It feels like they just kind of spent time on what they wanted to write for lyrics, and then they kind of tried to force these lyrics into a pattern, and none of those patterns are really catchy.
Right. Well,
Right.
that's Joe's whole comment about it sounds like Dallas is screaming in a different room. It's just that like these are the lyrics, so go fuck yourself. These are the lyrics.
It sounds like somebody else I know.
Yeah,
Shut up.
They have a point they want to articulate, and the music is nothing more than a vehicle. And if it doesn't fit exact, I don't think they really care.
Do you think Dallas would look back at this to cringe?
I think so.
yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
absolutely. Yeah, I think so. I hope he's feeling better.
Yeah. Actually, does anybody know? Is he still recovering from the brain injury, or is he like?
Well, he was just recently on the Bad Christian podcast, and they talked to him. But I remember him looking pretty rough.
That sucks.
Boy, that tugged at the heartstrings, though, man. I felt like I watched him on the podcast, and I was a big Dallas fan. Maybe not for Acts of Depression, but even into Melee and Sons Disaster, and just watching him talking about his kid and everything, I was like, wow, I'm getting a little teary-eyed here.
Yeah, and I hate that we're gonna, again, this is the second time on Discography Discussion that we have talked a little bit of trash on somebody that is not doing well, physically, and I apologize for that, but we kind of do what we do, man. We just have the records that we have, and we just kind of go from there.
Yeah, it doesn't.
I'm sure
change
he
who the
understands
individual
this
is.
wasn't his best work.
Sure.
Well,
nobody's
let's talk about
first.
much better work.
Well, no, let's. I got another one, Joe. From Acts of
He's
Depression.
still going.
Yeah.
Man.
So there's the title track, Act of Depression. And this is sad. It really is. Okay, so this song's about suicide if you haven't guessed yet. Right? So this is a boring ass song musically. It really is. I mean, that bass at the beginning sounds so fucking lifeless that like it's hard to continue. And this is like an 8-minute song. And it's not cool in like a doom metal kind of way. It's like more of like a, oh my God, like come on guys, really? So, wow. I'm looking for the lyrics right now. I'm looking on Jeff's phone, so give me a second here. Let me start here with ice cold fingers, body lays on the floor, pool of blood you see, you scream out in terror. Her body, now a part of mutilation, her soul, the victim of strangulation. I will not accept this evil anymore. I never thought of who I hurt, or I never tried to look for the good. I'm sorry for whoever I hurt. It's not easy to look back on my life, and I know I did not know Christ. For now I live in a real hell. I wish I had another chance. Then I would live my life with love. And again, I know I'm talking about 15-year-olds here. But like, has it ever occurred to you guys that sometimes people have an actual chemical imbalance that causes depression? Have you ever thought about the fact that that people have legitimate issues that are more complicated than, well, this person didn't have Jesus, so they killed themselves because they didn't see any other way out? I mean, maybe I'll say that like 4% of people that kill themselves, yeah, maybe that's it. But like, I've known a lot of people that are born again Christians that have killed themselves.
I mean, I think you nailed the nail on the head when you said this is coming from a 15-year-old, which doesn't have the world perspective or the experience just to really understand that, right?
Right. And Brandon, when I was 15 years old, I probably would have said the same shit.
Yeah.
So what you're saying is they're buying in to the Bible tract that they're being handed.
Right. It's this whole idea of like, well, I didn't look for the good in things. That's assuming that the person that is having this problem is like in their right mind. They might not be.
And that's an assumption that a 15-year-old would never make.
It might not be their fault. You know, these things happen. It sucks. People are born with bipolar disorders, which causes them to kill themselves, you know?
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, this is unfortunately a subject that I'm really well versed in.
Get up on that mic, Geoff.
I'm eating it, man.
All right.
So if it's not hot, you need to crank it up a bit.
You got it.
My aunt lived in the church, quite literally. I mean, church was the biggest part of her life outside of family. And she was bipolar. And one day she decided to take her life. And she didn't take her life because Christ wasn't in her life. Because if you could have asked anybody around her, you could ask her, and the answer would have been 100% yes, that Christ was with her. And she still took her life. And sometimes there is that bipolar, there's that chemical imbalance. There is a scientific explanation for why some people end up doing the things that they do, even if they are immoral, because suicide essentially is. But you know, I guess they're 15-year-olds and they're putting themselves out there. I mean, we can shit on them all we want.
Can we give them a pass for being ignorant?
Yes.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm getting at. They are.
If that's the case, then I don't get a pass at all. You know, like it's,
Yeah, you know, don't read what I scratched into my Trapper Keeper back in high school.
right. Norma Jean rules with a Z.
But they learn, you know.
No, that was actually what I write at work on my notepads at work. Norma Jean rules.
There you go.
Nice. I believe it. I
They still
totally
rule.
believe it.
They still rule.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, these are just kids. They're being honest. They're putting themselves out there. They're letting their opinions and their feelings known. And that's part of how you learn when you're 15 years old. I mean, you put yourself out there.
I mean, also
and you get
look
shot
like,
down.
If you look at the pictures from these guys at this time, they look like, you know, the poster boys for Hot Topic. Like, they have the big old, like, spiked bracelets and the big black Genco jeans that we all wore back then with wallet chains. And, you know, they're full blown into that, you know, being an angsty 15-year-old.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, there's definitely a stigma that goes with this band because most of us are thinking of they're only chasing safety. We're not thinking of what led to that, which for me is just this hardcore, almost deathcore type band that had these little hints of what we would get later.
Talking about later, can we finally find our ways to Cries of the Past, please?
Yeah, well, I'm going to say one last thing about active depression before I'm done.
Man, you just want to shit on this one nonstop.
No, this is a good thing.
Okay.
So that party about...
All right, I'm going to shit for 98% of the time. 2%, I'm going to be nice.
Yeah, no, like, whenever he's all like, body lies on the floor, like, he does that, like, guttural death, like, that part sounds fucking sick. Like, I love the way that sounds. It's the best part of the song for me.
I love the fact that in Acts of Depression and in Cries of the Past, there's these like little backing 80s metals, like, yeah!
Yeah.
And you don't hear them, but they're there. And I don't know what inspired them to say, yeah, that was cool.
That's Corey Steger was the guitarist for Underoath on the first two records. Three, maybe. No, probably just the first two. He did all that, and he was a big metal fan, and he's responsible for the more metal aspects of the first two Underoath records.
They're very out of place. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the next record.
Guitarist, yeah.
I think it's their sonically, it's by far their best effort. I'm still not a huge Dallas fan, and I probably am not the entire time that he's with Underoath. That's just me personally, but damn, this is a great album.
Yeah, this is where they actually started learning about structuring a song and coming back to riffs. It's still barely all over the place, but in a way that's a little more digestible than Acts of Depression.
Well, it's much more melodic than Acts of Depression, it's like straight up melodic death metal in places. I mean, it's a really well put together thing. The keyboards, huge addition to the band's sound.
Yeah, and that's Dudley, right?
Chris Dudley. He brought another flavor to their sound,
which I dig.
The lyrics are a hell of a lot better on this record than they were on Act of Depression. They're actually like more like they're still very Christian, but like they're I don't know, like it's more heartfelt, I guess.
They're almost thrash on this.
Yeah, dude. Like this record is the real deal.
I want to hear this band, not the next one.
See, I'm probably in the minority. I don't mind the next one.
I actually, if you're talking about changing of times, that's might be my second favorite album by Underoath.
Yeah, that's my shit.
All right. I'm not saying it's a bad record. I'm just saying we didn't get this anymore. What we got later was what we got later.
So Cries of the Past has 5 songs, and they're like at least like 8 minutes each.
This whole thing clocks in at 42 minutes.
It's a fairly long record for sure.
Good God.
Yeah, they kick ass on it, and I love every song on this record for different reasons. The keyboards are on point. The vocals, I think, sound a lot better, especially since they're going for more of like a European metal sound. The raspy screams and stuff sound a lot better here.
I think Dan just hit on why I like it.
Yeah,
European metal.
Absolutely.
I didn't make that connection.
Yeah, there's definitely more of a European metal sound. Like this Corey Steger guy, must have like really been like, guys, there's some really great shit going on in Gothenburg right now. You need to check it out. That Gothen shit. But yeah, no, like it's. But this is prior. This is the pre. As They Lay Dying, Killswitch Engage, Unearth, metalcore stuff. This captured elements from the melodic death metal movement in Europe, but did it its own way and still came across sounding relatively original. And so like the 8-minute songs are a hell of a lot more enjoyable than they were on Act of Depression, which is more rooted in like an American metalcore sound, which is like not all that different than what you were hearing from Zao, although Zao was obviously much better than they were at that time.
That's kind of like the flip side of the American standard when it comes to metal at the time.
Jesus, Joe.
I couldn't help it.
You're so
Put it in there
punny.
as much as you can. Plug.
Yeah, didn't we stroke Brandon enough on the last episode? Come on.
I normally just put that episode on every night before bed and listen to it.
There you go. Where I'm like,
it's
truly
like that
inspirational
ASMR,
lyrics.
how like people listen to people like whispering while they're sleeping. I just listened to Discography Discussion talking about us.
That's good.
Oh, I figured it would have been the System of the Down episode whenever you're essentially run the show.
Cries of the Past, I think we can all generally agree, is a huge step forward from what we had gotten on Act of Depression.
Dude, it's light years ahead.
But I have one caveat.
Oh, of course.
So the title track, Cries of the Past, is about a girl dies in a car crash, and Dallas is racked with like all the pain and suffering because the car accident was his fault and she died, and he was so upset about it. It's very dramatic and it's very crazy, and like he's at her funeral, and it's really fucking depressing. But I've done a lot of reading online, and I could be completely wrong about this, so we'll throw a disclaimer on this that this could all be bullshit.
If it's on Wikipedia, it's probably true.
From my understanding, no, this is better than Wikipedia. I'm talking message boards, baby.
Oh,
so
snap!
Yeah, so it's entirely possible that none of this shit actually happened. Like this was just a fictional story that the band had come up with to explain, like something that happened. And I could be completely wrong about this, especially since this topic was visited again in the Changing of Times episode, or not episode, they're a band, not a podcast, on the next album. And the only issue I have with that is that, like, if it's not true, it's kind of bullshit.
Is it though? I mean,
maybe.
I agree. Like it takes away from like the personal connection that like you can feel from it, but at the same time, I feel like if they're trying to convey an emotion but they build a story to make that more tangible. I mean, I feel like a lot of bands do that, but it definitely takes away from the personal aspect.
Well, sure, it's no different than like Slayer talking about the Antichrist and stuff. I mean, obviously that shit never happened. But on the same token, it's kind of like, I don't know, if it turns out that any of it wasn't true, it really takes away from it because of how hardcore that they, went into it. Like, because in Cries of the Past, it's all about like the build up to that and the emotion that situation created. And then, the changing of times is kind of like getting over that. If it's all true, It's a wonderful work of art. If it's not true, it sounds cool. It's not necessarily a work of art. You know what I'm saying?
Let me put it to you this way. So if you went up to Def Leppard and you poured some sugar on them and they're like, ew, this is sticky, I do not like this.
Well, what the
Would you
fuck?
hate them
They should be
anymore?
expecting that. Right? I mean,
They just made up this crazy story that they like sugar being poured on them.
that is not the same thing as I had a girlfriend that died in a car crash, and now I feel really upset about it because it was my fault.
A little heavier.
It's a little heavier?
What if
No.
This is a serious
Pour some
question.
Sugar on Me, Baby is like an 80s metal fucking thing. Like a topic,
anthem.
right?
This
It's an
is-
anthem. It's
this
like
is a
made
serious
to...
question.
Shut the fuck up,
What's
Joe.
the difference
So,
between
like,
that and everything that Coheed and Cambria did?
No, shut up. That's different, okay? Because that was established very early on as not true. With Underoath, we were kind of not sure if that happened because I assumed that it was all true.
But did you need to be told
for
it wasn't
Maylene,
true?
aren't they all a story as well? For Maylene and Sons Disaster, all the albums are like a story that Dallas
but it
tells
was
throughout it.
but it was known from the beginning that that's the way it was going to be.
You want them to be upfront about it.
I want them to be upfront about it because that's what I expect out of hardcore music. Am I
let's
wrong?
talk about something other than a girlfriend dying in a car crash, because I actually did
on
experience
Dan's
that.
birthday.
Sorry, buddy. That's what Cries of the Past is about.
I know.
That's
I
what-
know. I'd rather talk about a different song. I guess that's all I'm saying.
Well, yeah, but it goes on and on, like through the next album.
All right.
So, I don't know if it's true or not true.
Well, my story is true.
Okay.
So.
Well, then you may not want to read the lyrics for those songs.
No,
Okay.
You're
Sorry,
you're-
buddy.
That's okay. You're finding why I don't read lyrics.
That's my only
I
caveat.
get too damn depressed when it comes to lyrics.
That's my only caveat. If it's true or not true, I really don't know the answer to that. So, if the band is listening, then for sure, let me know if it's true or not. But okay,
I think Jeff's going to have to take
Cries
5
of the
minutes
Pa-
and get me another beer.
Cries of the
do you
Past is
want?
really good. Likewise, Cries of the Past is a really good record.
And like you said, it really bridged that synth, which is super heavy for Changing of Times.
Oh my god, it's so great. And honestly, it's the reason why we went with synth when we hit Into Destiny.
Oh, really? That's
100% was Underoath.
Changing of Times for me, like some songs, and especially some parts of songs, feel like I'm listening to the hardcore soundtrack of Mega Man.
Absolutely. And it's great, man. Dudley's a fucking genius on that stuff.
And it's like so happy. Like the synth sounds like so like you just want to clap along to it at times, but it's so weird in contrast to the songs, especially to the two albums before it.
Absolutely. So let's talk about Changing of Times. Starts off with basically Underoath's first quote-unquote hit single, When the Sun Sleeps.
Say hello to Hope's Fall. They're going to be here for the next 45 minutes.
Well, I
Right?
just FYI, we have Dave, our Patreon supporter, giving us beers.
Hello!
Yeah, Dave's here in house, so
I'm here.
shout out.
He's figuring out how the sausage is made.
He's watching us
You're
make
doing
the
a Lord's
sausage.
work, Dave. You're doing a Lord's work.
Yep.
yeah, he's getting us the beers. That's definitely
He
the
is
Lord's
definitely
work.
the Lord's
I don't know if
work,
it's the
yeah.
Lord's work, but I'm working.
Yeah, he's working. So it was their first hit single for sure. This song, this was fucking like, I didn't expect something like this out of Underoath because you got to remember this song's only like what, Joe, like 5 minutes long, 3 minutes long, something like that.
What's 5 minutes?
5 minutes, okay.
Something.
That's painfully
5 minutes, 33
That's
seconds.
painfully short for Underoath.
Had that huge hook. I mean,
Yeah.
the second
Yeah.
that comes on, you've got to sing along.
And this is the first song where you actually get to hear Aaron Gillespie sing.
Yeah, and
which becomes a huge thing later on.
Yeah, I actually I like the screamo direction that they're kind of taking. I really enjoy it. I mean, I'm not afraid to admit that I do like screamo.
And by screamo, you mean Hope's Fall, because that's basically what they're doing here.
It's a little Hope's Folly.
You know, if you're a fan of like stuff like Seisha or Rain or Orchid, I think this was a more polished, digestible version of that, and probably got to a lot more people than some of those older screamo bands did.
Absolutely.
And this record also does they definitely paid tribute to their metal past. There's some really aggressive songs on here, like A Message for Adrian was really aggressive. And
speaking of Message of Adrian, all right,
okay,
go listen to Boys of Summer, and then listen to Adrian. I just do it.
Fuck you.
But is the Boys of Summer a true story, or did they make that up?
I'm talking about. I'm not
just
talking
messing
about
with
the lyrics. You know me, man. I don't talk about
Let's
the
dig
lyrics.
into the truth of this matter.
Just do me a favor. When everybody's done listening to this podcast, just listen to those two songs back to back, and you're gonna go, "Oh yeah,
There might have been some inspiration there." Yeah. I could see that.
Yeah, there is. It's not even inspiration. I think it's like a straight up ripoff in certain points, which is kind of funny.
Do you guys think at this point that Dallas's vocals were appropriate for the band's sound on this record?
I would say, based on where they were going and what was about to be popular, it absolutely fit.
Yeah, this is a peak of his vocals to me for what Underoath, like for Underoath having an opportunity to break into a bigger crowd. This is like what he had to do for that.
I'm not sure it was what they were going for, but I think it was perfect.
I think this is where Dan and I are probably going to disagree. I think
Geoff gets fired. Brandon Kellum hosts.
Discography discussion.
Moving on
I
in,
mean,
guys. Hope you got an extra
Dan
bag.
and Geoff are going to disagree with Joe and Brandon is what I was getting at.
Oh, it's Dan
Yeah,
Terra all over
well,
again.
Yeah, because
Well.
I actually like Dallas's vocals more on Cries than I do on this, but I like Aaron. I think Aaron's freaking great for the clean vocals on this. I mean, I think he fits perfect on this stuff.
I think that's pretty fair, because I think the fact that like you have both in there to contrast, and also I'm sure Aaron's maybe bouncing ideas off of Dallas as well. I think it makes the vocals a little more catchy.
I like hooks. I like catchy. So I really do like this album quite a bit.
This is my favorite one.
Out of everything they've ever done.
Yes.
Shut up. Is it really?
Really is.
Dude, that's not what I was
Close
getting.
second for me.
I love Cries of the Past.
Wow. From
But-
the text that Dan and I were having earlier this week, this is totally out of left field for me.
Well-
I think he purposely threw me a curveball.
This
How many
was
beers did he have you while he was texting you?
nobody knows.
Not
Yeah,
enough.
you know what?
Nobody knows that but me.
Yeah, Dan was on vacation this entire week, so he was probably shit-faced the whole time he was texting me, and I had no clue.
Yeah, I was shit-faced while I was driving my family 4 fucking hours to an aquarium. Yeah, sure.
Well, that's irresponsible, Dan. You shouldn't admit that on there.
Well, I'm sorry.
So you're saying it's dangerous business going out your front door?
It is.
Oh my god!
It is some days.
Actually, I really like that song.
It is some
We're
days.
almost there, Jeff.
I
Hold
know.
on, man. Hold on.
So I like Changing at Times because it's an extremely emotional album. There's not as many bullshit made up songs, and like my favorite song on this record is called Angel Below, which is one of like the keyboard owns the song.
Is this the one where it drops down into just, like, the single bass drum, the do do do?
Yeah, dude, it's like a Transformers synth line, man. It's great.
It's the sound wave solo is what you're
It's
saying.
yeah. Well, we'll talk about that when we're talking about Not Beneath later.
Yeah, vocoders.
But yeah,
Yummy.
So, like they wearing my Not Beneath T-shirt tonight. Anyway,
Yes. Fantastic band. Check them out.
They are great. But anyway,
Not American
Hey,
Standard's
focus
great.
back on me here, fellas.
Yeah,
Yeah.
hey, I just said Not American Standard's great.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Anti-Melody shits all over that record
There are no
But,
other bands
you
in
know.
this town.
in your town. So they're Not Beneath's not from our town. Anyway, so
Aren't they from Travis's
But
town?
no, that's my favorite. No, they're not.
Oh, they're not?
No.
Cool.
So there's that song like really ties the record together for me. There's also another song where like they build for like a minute and a half because these songs are shorter. This record's only like Joe, like so like 39 minutes long or something like that.
34
Right about that,
minute.
they were trying to do the radio single
Right.
at this
So
point.
like every song's like 2 to 3 minutes long, which is really different for Underoath.
It's 35 minutes and 45 seconds.
I mean, if this was Cries of the Past, like we're looking at like the record being over within 3 songs, you know. But they've chopped all that up and made more digestible songs.
Well, there was this thing that all the metalcore and hardcore and deathcore bands tried to do,
All of them.
which was be artsy and say, we're going to have long songs that don't have choruses.
Right.
I know this because I was one of them. And it doesn't work, guys. It might work once in a while. You can get away with it. But the best thing you can do, especially if you want to make money, this will come in later. If you want to make money, write the radio single.
It worked on Cries of the Past, dude.
I'm listening.
Write the thing that people want to listen to over and over and over again.
Go find that
Question
hook.
though, what if you can't sing or write a single?
Then you write Writer's Block Party,
Yes.
and everything is fine.
Well, you did that already, so it's off the list. There you go.
Damn it.
Yeah.
You know, so about changing in times though, I will say like for this, it's like if you go on YouTube, you can go through this wormhole. This is an interesting time for the band because I think it's right when this style of music starts to kind of just, you know, kind of blast into the mainstream, and you actually get to see some live videos that has Dallas singing songs that will become They're Only Chasing Safety songs, and you also get to see Spencer singing some old songs that were Underoath songs from like Cries of the Past. So I think that's like really cool to see on YouTube.
What's really interesting too is that like I think Dallas said in an interview, and I could be wrong here, but he said that like they're only chasing safety because like a lot of fans of the band were really upset after they put out They're Only Chasing Safety because it was basically like an emo record.
Are we moving on to that now?
Yeah, why not? So it was more of like an emo record, and I mean, according to Dallas, they pretty much were going to go in that direction regardless of who the singer was. You know, this was the direction the band was going in. And you can kind of tell that a lot of the songs have been pre-written because I knew Spencer Chamberlain from, and I didn't know him personally, but from a band called This Runs Through, which was a melodic hardcore band from around that time. And they only had like a 5-song EP. But I remember him doing like really deep guttural screams. And so when They're Only Chasing Safety came out, I kind of felt like he was basically just trying to sound like Dallas. I mean,
Yeah,
did
that
you
makes
guys
sense.
did you guys get that impression at all listening to it? That he sounded like Dallas. He was going for that high pitched sheen that the band was known for.
Yeah, but Spencer does a better job of it, in my opinion.
I think his
I agree.
voice is
Spencer's
more appropriate.
this album is so like not only is it maybe dabbling more on the emo side, but it's so
Dabbling?
damn polished. From all the production on it, from how smooth the screams are and the singing is, and all the electronics and everything else, it's just such a polished album, which I think is what made it perfect for anybody that was, you know, in high school and, you know, probably wouldn't find Acts of Depression and actually say this is a great album. They needed something to step into that style, and I think They're Only Chasing Safety was that album.
Yeah, there's a reason why this sold over 500,000 copies. Physical.
Mo.
If people haven't figured it out, I am completely unabashed in my love of emo. I mean, my God. I mean, I talk about Sunny Day Real Estate in almost every damn episode.
I'm going to say it. Get out of my house.
Dude,
You know, our
Are you serious?
website is discussmetal.com, right? You
there
knew
is a
that,
lot.
right?
Yes, I understand,
just
and
checking.
I realize this, but Diary by Sunny Day Real Estate influenced a ton of these post-hardcore and screamo bands.
Going forward, anytime Geoff mentions Sunny Day Real Estate, you have to drink.
Well,
Sweets.
so I
All right,
remember when this,
hold on. Sunny Day Real Estate. Okay, everybody drink.
I'm already preloaded.
All right, so I would say that this record was, I'm not going to lie, I was really fucking pissed off when this came out. Because I was at kind of this crossroads of like, I loved Cries of the Past, and I loved The Changing in Times. And this was, not that, man. I used to call him Taking Back Underoath.
Yeah, it's totally
and,
Taking
like,
Back Sunday. I
'cause
mean,
it is.
it's obvious. I
And
mean,
it's funny because what I
plain as
didn't
day.
admit to people is that I listened to tons of Taking Back Sunday. And
So when did Taking Back Sunday peak then? Well, like, when was their first huge single? Was it like right before this? Or,
I want to say it was
had to
like
be right around the same
2000.
time, right?
It
Yeah,
had to have
it's
been
gotta
like
be close.
2002, maybe. Like, what was this, Joe? 04? So
04.
2004.
yeah. And I think Taking Back Sunday's Tell All Your Friends came out in 2002.
Gotcha.
Well,
Yeah.
the joke with this record was Underoath decided to go emo. This is when we went to an Underoath show, and the front row was nothing but girls and guys that didn't want to be there.
Well, that makes sense because
You know what?
okay, so think of it this way: if you got Taking Back Sunday explodes in 2002.
Unfortunately,
Underoath
this is that
a
time.
safe jump from Taking Back Sunday. So like you can listen to Taking Back Sunday, never hear or listen to anything that has screaming and breakdowns, and then hear Underoath and still say, all right, this has some of that Taking Back Sunday vibe, but it's a little bit heavier. And like, back then, a little bit heavier is always a little bit cooler for some reason. So it's probably why you had, much more predominantly like female crowd and a crowd that was coming from that pop punk scene.
Well, it's weird too because like they're still a super Christian band at this point. Yeah, they have a anti-premarital sex song.
Which song is that?
Boy Brush Red, Living in Black and White.
See, I mean, you're much more of a lyric guy than me. I might know all the words to that song, but
Yeah, it's like, can you feel your
never heard
heartbeat
it twice.
racing? Can you taste the fear in her sweat?
Oh, okay, yeah.
You've gone
gotcha.
too far. It talks and Aaron actually said in an interview that's what that song was about kids having premarital sex. And
I
how
think
it's
Dan
bad.
is proving that the average emo fan never listened to the lyrics. They just listen to the
like
lines.
it's
All right, yeah.
So
Joe just
he's like,
just
here's where
totally-
we both
just
go wrong.
totally painted me in a corner. That's absolutely right.
I mean, there are no Sunny Day Real Estate lyrics.
No.
Hey, I didn't mention
Everybody
it. So
drink.
I didn't mention it. You don't have to drink.
Too late.
Brandon speaks for
But-
all of us, so if
but
he
it's
says
the,
it,
it's the truth. I mean, and
Yeah.
so emotions were really important to me as far as listening to, how the delivery was made, not necessarily what was delivered. It was the delivery itself was super important to me. So that's always why I listen to the emotion that's behind how somebody sings. It's the reason why I love Swallow the Sun, and I have no fucking clue what they're singing about.
they're singing about fucking dead girls in the woods.
Yes, I know they are
Just
now.
so you know.
We know that now, thanks to you, Dan.
Okay, well,
But it's so
glad I'm here to keep you guys on track.
but it's so hauntingly beautiful. And that so
Yeah,
when-
beautiful.
yeah, I know. Apparently I am now a necrophiliac,
Yeah.
according to Dan.
Well, I think Buddy put it the best when he was on that episode when he said, "Oh, all you need is a little bit of WD-40."
And that got a laugh from the crowd, so.
Yeah, it did. Damn. Anyway,
But no, this album is great. It's got the hooks, it's got the melodies, it's got the screaming. I mean, it's got everything you want. And Aaron's clean vocals are right up that whole like whiny, high-pitched vocals that were real important at this time. Just like Taking Back Sunday, and and of course Aaron went on to start the Almost and.
Aaron sounds like beautiful, like angel jizz. I mean,
Yeah,
he
I know.
sounds
Dude,
amazing.
And it was also very cool to have like a drummer that sang at this time, right?
Yeah, because you're talking about
Like you got your From Mom to
Atreyu.
Ashes and Artreyu.
Well, hey,
like-
man, in the band Beloved, the drummer screamed, which was really cool.
Oh, I'm a
And
big
then-
fan
and
of
then he
drummers
went
that
on-
sing and scream.
Yeah, shut up, Joe. So he went on to be in a band called Advent, actually, the drummer from Beloved, and it was boring as shit. But that's cool. But that he went on and became a lead singer. Yeah, like this record is like, I hate to say it, but it's like it's very similar to Linkin Park's Hybrid Theory album.
What?
In the sense that
It's
doesn't-
really good.
It doesn't sound the same.
Start
but
to finish, it doesn't sound the same.
It basically takes all the essential elements of a certain genre and puts them together in such a way that everything's a single. Every single
So
song
everything
on
is
this record
sound
is
good. It's popular. People buy their shit.
Yeah,
So this is like
everything
Third Strike for new metal.
Yeah, everything on this record is.
I think it was great because it's exposing it to people that normally wouldn't listen to it.
Any song on this CD could be released as a single. It would have been fine.
So you're saying the Blue Note? could be a
Okay,
single.
not the instrumental bullshit track, but yeah,
But no, yeah, like my wife actually
the brown
is
note.
perfectly fine with this, and like her favorite band's Better Than Ezra, so she likes the whole southern
And
poppy
she hates
rock.
most of the stuff that you like, so.
Yes, with a passion. And she can tolerate this, so I mean, it's a good crossover album. I think it's great for anybody to be able to expand their horizons, and I think this is a really good album that allows people to do that because it's easy access.
And I don't think anybody will doubt that either. And to the point that, like, when you look back at this style, like, they're only chasing safety. If you put together any, like, top 20 lists of this style, they're only chasing safety is probably always going to be on there.
Absolutely.
100%.
Agreed.
As much as I love to find the great line.
It's definitely my third favorite album by the band because, again, it's just so damn listenable. I mean,
Which one are we talking about now, Dan?
Chasing Safety. So,
Okay.
because I love Cries of the Past, and, like, sometimes it alternates between Changing in Times or Cries of the Past for me, but, like, you have to accept that after Chasing Safety, you're dealing with an essentially different band. It's like almost like the Zayo transition, you know, like the original Zayo was really good for what they did, but they weren't what we all remember. And so, like, I think with Chasing Safety, you know, they really transitioned into what they were going to become later. And this record's a solid third for me because, like, I was driving with my wife today listening to it. I took my kids to, like, a gymnastics thing, and, you know, we were listening to it on the way over, and I was like, God, I just forgot how just so damn singable these songs are.
Yes.
You know, and I bet you, like, with this, I mean, you kind of said something that kind of made me think. I think if when they were transitioning from Dallas to Spencer with Changing in Times to They're Only Chasing Safety, they probably felt like they had so much steam and, like, credibility built up as a band that it didn't make sense to make, you know, a new name for this and make it a whole new thing. But I bet you if they had the opportunity now, knowing where they are, they probably wouldn't really resist being able to distance themselves from, like, Acts of Depression or Cries from the Past, because it is, like, so completely different, you know. But saying that, it's actually interesting if you listen on Spotify or you go to Spotify. I think they recently, like, re-uploaded Acts of Depression from the Past, and those actually come up as their, like, most recent albums released in, like, 2015 or 2016, which is kind of weird to see.
2016 Underoath, Acts of Depression. Here you go.
Yeah, and that's got to confuse the hell out of people if you don't know the history. If you just go on there and say, "Oh, Underoath, you know, I haven't listened to them in a while. Let's check this out."
See, that's the reason.
Underoath became an independent deathcore band overnight. Who knew?
That only talks about Jesus exclusively. Yeah.
That's the reason why we have discography discussion. We get to educate people. I got to toot our own horn since we've been tooting American Standard's horn all night long.
That's all I do,
plug,
man.
plug.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
24/7. It's American Standards. That's me. So that means I can listen to the whole discography.
So your
24
yeah,
times a day.
distractions last a little while, but the problem still remains.
Right.
Yeah,
so,
speaking of American Standard, when are you going to come to our area and play a show and crash at one of our houses?
So right now we're actually doing in March, we're going up through the West Coast. In June, we're doing East Coast, and we may make it out your way in June. But if not, we're definitely going to be out there in September because we're doing full Midwest in September.
Sounds
And that
sweet.
sounds like so long away. So we're hoping that in addition to these, like, 3-week tours where we do 3 weeks at a time, that we're going to have a couple, like, weekend runs and stuff like that, which, like, you guys arguably we that way in, like, 4 days. So, you know, there might be sooner, but definitely in September and maybe even in June.
Congratulations,
That's
you
cool.
have completed the first mid-show plug of this podcast history.
sounds good.
So yeah,
There you go.
that's a good tidbit. Now
It's time to define the great line.
Yeah, I say we got 3 more albums to get through, man.
yeah, this album actually happens to truthfully have my favorite song.
Is it in regards to myself?
Nope.
I tried.
Oh man. Define
Dan knows what it is because I already told him.
Define the great line, dude. Like, this was like, hey guys, we really love all that money we made off of They're Only Chasing Safety, so we're gonna go heavy again.
What's wrong
Yeah,
with that?
was a ballsy move for them, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. But it wasn't heavy like Cries of the Past. It was heavy like Norma Jean.
Yeah, Norma Jean heavy.
Yeah. Which is not
Again,
a bad place to live.
I was gonna say again,
You know.
and what's wrong with that?
There's absolutely nothing wrong with it from where I'm sitting.
Yeah, and of course, the one song that I do like on this isn't quite so heavy. and might actually
And
be
I will
pretty
say,
popular.
Define a Great Line, like this is around the time. So this is the last Underoath album that I know from front to back. And I don't know as for the sake of me either not connecting with this album or not connecting with what came after it. I think it was just like kind of the time in my life I was at, where I heard so much of this stuff already. But Define the Great Line for me is probably in my opinion, their third best album.
Yeah, I think it's third for me too.
Their favorite album.
If I had to pick a album that I like most from the band for everything that they were and everything they became, it would be this one. As much as I don't like the emo aspects, this is a nice mix of that with metal. And in regards to myself, is a great example of their old style of writing. Remember what I said earlier about the hardcore metalcore bands at the time not wanting to actually write choruses? Well, that song doesn't really have a chorus. It has 3 movements. And then we're on to the next thing. So they kind of went backwards and stayed where they were. And I don't know who was to blame for that. It might have been Aaron Gillespie. It might have been, we're just going to keep doing what we're doing, and they didn't hit as radio friendly as they did on Their Only Changing Safety.
Chasing.
Thank you. But I liked it, and actually in my memory this album came out first. I know I'm wrong, but my brain tells me this came out before the previous record.
You didn't notice, but your brain did.
I know, right?
Spencer screaming like a man.
The dude is a beast.
That's my favorite part of this record, is
got
Spencer
balls.
Yeah, he
going
does.
back to that deeper guttural scream, and it just kicks ass. I mean, he's just so more on top of it and like has more energy than I expected. I mean, don't get me wrong, like if you listen to the songs off of They're Only Chasing Safety versus the songs on The Changing of Times is an energetic record, but They're Only Chasing Safety is like 400 times more energetic than The Changing of Times. Did I say that right, Joe?
You got it.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool. So Spencer is a powerhouse of energy.
Yes,
and you
he
can
is.
feel that through his vocals. So on this record, I mean, he came out of the gate screaming at you in a fashion that he had not before. I mean, to me, this put them on the same level as From Autumn to Ashes, as far as like having an intensity to them. Like there was the melody, but it was kind of like it's kind of like what I was talking about on the Swallow the Sun episode, Geoff, about how like you have this like flawed monster, this out of control individual that is only kept in control by like beautiful melodies. And that's what you get with Define the Great Line. You have a lot of like unbridled anger and aggression that is only kept in check by the melody of the sensibility of the songwriting.
So let's talk about aggression and melody. Brandon, it's 2006. For those that don't remember, or for us that have chosen to forget, what was the metal scene like?
For me, 2006 was a year of like Norma Jean, and just kind of like we were talking about, like this sound was the sound where you're bringing in like the really dissonant, heavy, chaotic sound. And I feel like every band was going for exactly what Underoath was doing with this album at this time.
Compared to They're Only Chasing Safety?
Well, End of Destiny was blowing up the charts in 06.
Only in one country, and it's on the other side of the world.
Singapore, baby. We're coming.
That's where the record sales
Yep,
went.
We're coming.
I've tried to forget that emo was a thing. But
this was good, dude. The emo influences were heavily reduced on this record.
This is better. I'm not going to say it's good. It's better than the previous album.
No, the previous album I thoroughly enjoyed, but because I'm an emo asshole, I'm sorry.
It's okay, Geoff.
and
we forgive you for being who you are.
Thank you. I do appreciate that you can still love me even though I'm an ass.
Cheers, dude.
Likewise. Writing on the Walls, it's my favorite song on this album.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Like
Moving
it's
for
not
the sake
even
of motion.
close. It's not even close. Like I love that song. That's my favorite song by Underoath. I don't know why, man. I just love this freaking song. I like how Aaron and Spencer work well together on this. I feel it.
What do you guys think of Spencer's singing voice?
Good. I mean, I think, obviously from Changing the Times to here, he knows how to write a hook, and it's a smooth boy. And you'll know what that is, Dan.
A smooth boy. Shout out to the Roach Coach podcast.
This means war.
So, yeah, I mean, like, I think Spencer has a really good singing voice.
It's because he does.
He does. Like, I mean, if you listen to Chasing Safety and even this record, there's a lot of Spencer singing, which is something that's not really talked about that much. Spencer has a really good, like, ballsy, not really emo-sounding voice. And he displays that on this record more, I think, even than he did on Chasing Safety. And that's something that's going to become really important later on.
Yeah, actually, I think Bring Me the Horizon, like that guy's vocals.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
Spencer's.
Sure.
That's
I hear that.
as far as the clean singing.
It's a slightly less intense Norma Jean.
Yeah, but it's one of those
It's
things.
got that rasp, a little bit of rasp to it. I dig that.
Do you guys feel like at this point Aaron is a essential member of the band, or do you think that Spencer could handle it on his own as a vocalist? Like it, because I feel like he's that dynamic.
Yeah, I think Spencer can handle it on his own, but I do thoroughly appreciate what Aaron brings to the table.
Again, angel jizz, right? I mean, he's
Well, am I jealous of his hair?
yeah. You
Well,
are.
hell yeah, I
you
am.
are.
Here's
But-
the thing about all emo music as far as a creative standpoint. The melodies are not actually melodies. They're expulsions that are primarily monotone done by people with baritone ranges. I know. I'm classified as a baritone.
So
Me
am I.
too.
Maybe that's
I've
why I
got
like
a tenor, I've got a bass, but I'm classified as a baritone.
Me too.
They're hitting a high note and they're holding it. Is Aaron essential? No! Because anybody can do it!
Not me.
Especially at that time, because everybody was.
I can't do it.
They were hitting a high note and holding it.
I didn't do it.
They weren't actually singing.
That's part of the whole.
That's because you can actually
Sound
sing,
good, though.
Yeah,
Mr. Cash. And I don't use that loosely. Thank you very much.
I can't fucking sing. Come on.
Do I need to include some things in this episode to prove you wrong?
No, you piece of shit. If you do, I quit.
Tuning to that now.
sweet! I'm running the show now.
Oh god, I can't let that happen. All right, I'm back. Okay, so all right, so yeah, this is. I guess
Geoff's emo discussion.
I guess my question. Emo discussion featuring.
What's up, guys?
Geoff came.
Hey, we're listening to Rose Blossom Punch tonight. Woo!
You shut your fucking mouth.
Hey, that's Christian emo, man.
Okay. Anyway, so moving on. Define the Great Line was a great record, and I think it really.
Dan, I'm sorry, but how do you whine about Jesus?
I can't think of. 238. Check out them. Check out 238. Anyway, so basically, Define the Great Line was a really weird record for me in the sense that, like, how many people bought this record expecting Chasing Safety 2 and were like, oh.
I didn't buy this record because I was so put off by the emo trend that I didn't want to touch anything new.
But I mean,
I found
seriously,
out later how
God.
wrong I was. I
many-
should have bought this one.
How many people were like, yeah, I'm checking out Chasing Safety, and then there was this.
I was pleasantly surprised.
So,
Yeah, I mean,
Truthfully,
like,
I bought it. I was happy.
So like Chasing Safety is like they cleaned up just long enough to get people interested, and then they went right back to not their old selves, but definitely a heavier version. So it's like
For sure.
they hooked them in, and now they're like, all right, we've got the years, let's give them a little bit of what we had before.
absolutely.
Yeah, and then for all the people that were disappointed, go listen to the Almost.
So let's listen to the next record,
Is it that time?
Lost in the Sound of Separation. Did anybody else like this record more than Define the Great Line? Anybody else?
No.
No.
Really?
Nope.
Wow.
The songs are good, but they're not as catchy.
Brandon, help me out here, buddy.
So this one, I gave it a listen through when it came out. It didn't really connect with me, and it took me several years to go back to.
Wow.
So I honestly haven't spent enough time with this to really say one way or the other. I mean, I would say Define the Great Line for me still holds up better than this.
I like this more than Define the Great Line.
This reminds me of Good Apollo and Burning Star for Volume 2, in that the production quality went up and the song quality,
well,
I don't care.
Trust me on this. It's the same record as Define the Great Line. I'll give it that. But the songs were cooler to me. And again, I think this just comes down to the fact that I am a fan of chaotic Norma Jeannie type of sounds and not as concerned with radio singles. So like Joe, when you say that the record wasn't as catchy, I think that that's what I liked about it.
And I think the core Underoath fan would share that opinion with you.
I just liked that it was a little bit more chaotic, a little bit more crazy. Spencer is on point here.
You're saying it's less emo?
I mean, it is way less emo. And
Spencer is the shining star of this record, in my opinion.
He's all of it, dude.
Yeah.
Talk about a vocalist upgrade for a band.
Yeah.
I mean we talk about it on The Contortionist a lot, but like, seriously, in Underoath, Spencer was literally the greatest thing that ever happened to this band.
You know, I should probably go back and listen to some of the old stuff that Spencer has done.
I'll hook you up.
And I'm sure I'll be pleasantly...
I've got it.
I'll be very happy with it because...
We'll talk later.
This runs through.
Yeah. Dallas was always my weak point on the first 3 albums. I mean, I was just like, I was... Sure, I mean, he's got the passion, but he just didn't have the voice. I would feel like I would be in the same boots. I would have all the passion, but I sure as hell don't have the voice to make it happen.
You know, I think that's me to a T. But I was gonna say, I mean, I think it worked out for the both of them, right? Because I don't think Underoath had the opportunity to get as big as they did once they got Spencer. If they would have stayed with Dallas, there's no way they would have taken off like they did now. But at the same time, I think Dallas did much better after he left Underoath and he went to Maylene.
Yes,
and I
he
think
did.
that was more fitting for him by far.
Agreed.
For sure.
I mean, it was. I think it was the best thing that could have happened for both Dallas and Underoath, because, like you said, because I think he's much better than Maylene. So I mean, it works out for both parties.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
Minus the ATV accident, of course. I mean,
this is actually the point where I come in and say that my Boston Terrier, my dog, is actually named after Dallas Taylor. So
Wow.
No kidding.
That's
Wow.
awesome.
very cool.
I was
we
like
got
that
him the day that we went to a Maylene show, and Dallas Taylor was spitting loogies in the air and letting them land on his face. We're like, this guy's disgusting.
Sounds about right.
Let's name our
That's
dog Dallas.
awesome.
It's better than me, man. My dog is named after a country singer and the atmosphere.
So he's Toby Keith. You're like, come here, Toby Keith.
Oh God, no.
All right, well, if you guys don't have shit to say about this record, I will say that a fault line, A Fault of Mine is fucking great, and you should check it out.
Thank you, Dan, for that insightful outlook into this particular record.
It's a great record. It's exactly the same as Define the Great Line, and if you like that record, you're going to love this record.
I'm curious what you're going to say about Disambiguation, because this one I have no history with, outside of the fact that the logo I feel like is tattooed on like so many people. Like I see that logo everywhere.
Yeah, no joke.
So you're saying you're catching yourself?
I love this record.
Dude, you just...
Do you remember?
No.
Do you remember? Okay.
So, okay, Dan's been throwing me curveballs on purpose all week long.
I've been throwing my balls at you all week.
That or
yep.
he's been drunk all week because he's like,
That too.
I'm not really feeling this one. I don't... That's what I got in text
I
form.
go back and forth throughout the week, man. Everybody's that way.
I'm not.
And I'm drunk. I'm feeling a
decisive.
little nostalgic, okay? So, okay. This record sounds really good because Aaron's not on it.
Really, dude? You're going to be
Damn.
that guy?
I'm that guy.
Are you an Aaron Gillespie hater?
They also have Daniel from Norma Jean drumming on it. What do you want me to say?
I'm going to say the drums are
Was Aaron
amazing.
just too busy with his side projects, or why wasn't Aaron on this? Fill me in here.
I think it's probably because of the Almost. And he focused
the
on 100%.
Almost, and they pretty much said that they booted Aaron out of the band because Aaron was really trying to make them sound mainstream, and they wanted to sound, super fucking cult or whatever.
So what you're saying is he was the Mike Portnoy of the emo scene?
No, it's not that. I just think that they just had some disagreements song-wise, and this record is generally heavier and more insane than the previous stuff. And Spencer's doing all the singing, and it sounds fucking great. And I like how different it sounds from the previous 2 records.
Was this the payoff for all the emo stuff?
No, I don't have a problem with the emo stuff like you seem to have, Joe.
I don't like emo. You like emo. This is established.
I like emo.
I listen to
established.
City of the Caterpillar from time to time, but
I'm gonna have to lure you in here, really in here. This isn't the emo discussion. Come on.
No, that's Brandon and Geoff's side project.
Sweet.
Emo Discography Discussion.
2018.
I'm game.
DiscussEmo.com. Yeah.
We'll talk later.
Alexis on fire.
Dude, I go back to the early 90s on emo, so yeah.
Is it Alexis on fire or is it Alex is on fire?
Alexis on fire.
Okay, that's
Definitely Alexis on fire. So with disambiguation, and now that Spencer's full blown into singing, this is probably around the time, and given the fact that then they have a break for a little while, I think, and I could be completely wrong, so let me know if I am. But this is probably around the time where Spencer starts getting a big head and saying he can go out and do some side projects, right?
well, Aaron maybe. I don't know about Spencer.
How long has Sleepwave been around?
He did
Sleepwave's been around for
Sleepwave
quite a
after
few years,
Underoath
right?
broke up.
Yeah, they
Oh,
broke
did
up
they?
in 2013. Underoath
Yeah, and then
did.
they were gone forever. I know they're back now, but like,
And they were only broken up for 2 years, right?
yeah,
Boy, Dan's feeling it.
yeah. I mean, it was like
That's not the feeling that I'm talking about, Dan.
it was like 2 or 3. What do you mean?
We're going to have to wrap this up in the next 10 minutes or Dan's going to be out cold.
No, I mean I'm just saying.
I've
that,
got
like,
one thing to say. Sunny day real estate.
Woo! Damn it. I drank all the last beer on the last one. I'm beerless. Glug, 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 glug,
before we
glug.
wrap
That was
it
all
up, though, there
suds.
is something I want to talk about and get you guys' feedback on for Underoath. So they've got the DVD that they did, which I don't know when they released it, or the documentary, which I watched on YouTube. And I personally, that was so weird for me because here they are, they're broken up for a while. They put out this documentary, and I feel like months after the documentary comes out, then they announced the reunion tour. And that was just like, it completely took away from all the feelings you get from that documentary.
It's like
'Cause in
Cries
that
of the
documentary,
past,
you're like,
man. It's all
they're
bullshit.
standing together, and they're like, we'll never see each other again.
It's all bullshit. It's like
And then-
Cries of the past.
Yeah, and then it's just months later back on the riff.
This sounds like the same thing that Five Iron Frenzy and Offspring did. They put out a DVD that builds hype about their band, and then, of course, people are talking about your band, so you're like, well, I think we could still do this.
No,
Obviously!
And it was a good documentary too. It was.
really
It gave you
was.
some
You know,
serious
even if you're not a
insight
fan
into
of
what was
Underoath, it
going
put
on in the
together really
band,
well.
yes.
yeah, it's real simple. It's the simple phrase, show me the money. Somebody showed them the money, and they got back together. I mean, it's real
That's
simple.
not a bad thing. If we get another
No.
record out of it, that'd be great.
Yeah,
So is Aaron back?
Aaron's back.
yeah, they're all back.
Oh, the
Yeah, Aaron's back.
fans rejoice.
Yes, I'm excited. He's got beautiful hair.
Does he still
Okay,
have the
I
hair?
get it. I get it,
I don't
Geoff.
care, man.
I get it, Geoff. You want to fuck Aaron.
No, I want to fuck Aaron's hair. Let's get that straight.
All right, fair enough. I'm sure it's very straight.
Yeah, I'm sure he uses a flat iron on that shit.
All right, great. Now
Can
that
you
that's
feel
out
your
of the way.
heartbeat?
All right, Brandon Kellum, final thoughts on Underoath.
I mean, Underoath was huge for me from the point, like, honestly, like I said, Changing of Times is when I first heard them, but They're Only Chasing Safety is what really hooked me in. I remember actually first transitioning from being in a new metal band to a screamo band, and the guy that was singing for us brought They're Only Chasing Safety, like, you know, maybe I think it was 2 or 3 of their singles or a demo or something he had of it. And I'm like, this is insane. This is going to be the hugest thing. And within a year, I felt like everybody was talking about it. So although I didn't stay with them after Defined a Great Line, every time I put in any album before that, it's one of those albums I know every track that comes up and you start singing them right away.
Geoff, what about you?
I know it's discussmetal.com, but I do love the emo and screamo aspects of this band. I really enjoy it. I like the fact that they can do metal and have a little bit of, a little bit of that emo mixed in. I'm making it so miserable for Joe that he's like double fisting it right now.
He's drinking a lot of beer really fast.
He's got Space Dust IPA in one hand and he's got Steel Reserve in the other.
You do not know how good that tastes. That's all I'm gonna say.
He's hating on me, so he's gonna chug some beer. But I love it, man. I like the hooks. I like the clean vocals in it. I think Spencer's a beast, and he is probably my favorite aspect of the band. Everybody's supposed to go back to Dallas because he's the originator, but Spencer does it better. I guess that's really what it comes down to. He's my favorite part of this band, bar none. Dan?
I like it.
All of it.
All of it. It's all true.
Just stop it right there.
It's all true. All of it.
Yeah. Dan likes Cries of the Past.
I do. I like Tries of the Past. I like The Changing of Times. So that's era 1. Era 2, I really like Define the Great Line, and I really like Lost in the Sound of Separation. So that's where I live. I mean, I think they're a great band, and I can't wait to hear what they do in the future. I think I'm not at the point in my life anymore where I'm going to get hurt about the way the band sounds.
Unlike
because
Joe.
it's not what I was expecting. So, Joe, what are your final thoughts?
Joe's butt hurt.
I think if you
His
wanted
butt
me
hurts.
to find the polar opposite of nu metal, which was popular at the time,
Not polar
and
similar.
say we are going to come up with a new popular heavy music, I would give you emo. I think the things that make Underoath great and listenable are lost in the emo trend,
Lost in the Sound of Separation.
lost in the time, and lost in the expectation. Everybody wants to hear It's Dangerous Business going out your front door. But the majority of those people are hung up on the emo. And I hate the fake emo. I don't even think that the early to mid 2000s emo is real emo.
Yeah, real emo came out in 1994 with Diary.
True metal fan here.
And I wish I could separate myself from the emo trend, but it still hurts. Nu metal doesn't hurt anymore. Emo is right up there for me with dubstep. I'm waiting for it to stop hurting.
Okay, so Joe's
unfortunately,
hurting.
dubstep is not going to stop hurting ever. It's always going to be
So
bad.
you're trying to say, Joe, that you're not going to these emo dance nights that they're doing at clubs now?
So Joe is...
I'm saying I'm going to stay
What?
home and rock out to the anti-melody and Still Life.
All right, then.
Brandon, they have...
We're going emo on the next album. As
Totally.
emo as they can
Oh
do,
my
which
gosh.
is not emo at all.
They've already got...
Fuck you!
They've already
you-
got Aaron Gillespie booked for like
Dude,
3
if you
sessions.
got any emo on your album, just hook me up. If you need some backing vocals, let me know. I'm a strong baritone. I'll take care of you.
Hey. Fuck you.
Hey, man, I was an all-state choir. I'm special.
If anybody's doing guest vocals in this room.
Hey,
right
Dan,
now.
what's your album of the week?
Oh shit. Well, I've been listening to "Wrong One to Fuck With" by Dying Fetus this week.
Geoff, what about you?
Oh, shit, I've been listening to John Williams.
Brandon.
I've been pretty heavy on the Dusk and Us, the new Converge album. It's beautiful, man.
It's fucking great, dude. You're right.
Beautiful Loneliness by Travil.
Wow. Okay.
It would have been Elephant by the White Stripes, but Melissa left the room.
Okay. Good call.
All right, I'm going to add one more.
What the fuck?
Well, because I got to put something kind of sort of metal
All right.
in there.
All right. Okay. Whatever.
And I might have mentioned this before. And it's Altered State by Tesseract.
All right. Cool.
Because that's when it was good, because Ash was the lead singer. He's the man.
Not Ash Ketchum
No, Ash O'Hara.
from the popular Pokemon series.
No, Ash O'Hara.
All right. Cool.
Brandon, tell me what's going on with American Standards beyond the tease of all the tours that you gave us.
We're just jumping on the discography discussion as much as you'll have me. That's what we're doing. For the 2018, we're just blocking it all off and waiting for your call.
Sounds like sex.
Sweet. The next call, we want it to be in person with the rest of the band. have it live in studio.
That would be awesome.
Dude,
That would be awesome. I'm so down to share some beers there.
Oh, we would love
Sounds
it.
good.
You know what? We would even buy those beers.
Jeff will.
Oh,
Yes, I will.
buying plane tickets after this.
I will buy those beers. We'll go down to Main and Mill. It's a awesome establishment. Literally, we can walk there, get shit-faced, and walk back to Joe's. It's that close.
So every
We've
day.
got a plan.
All right.
We've got a plan.
Sounds
and
great.
on that note, this has been episode 47 of Discography Discussion. Thank you for listening.
Happy birthday, Dan.
You can
Thank
like
you.
us
Happy
on
birthday,
Facebook
Dan.
and follow us on Twitter at discussmetal. Subscribe to our podcast everywhere you listen to podcasts, including Google Play, iTunes, and Stitcher. Visit discussmetal.com for all things discography discussion, and please send questions and comments to danandjoeshow@gmail.com. If you are not a patron, you can become one at patreon.com/discussmetal. We have some sweet perks.
Give me your money.